let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, this happened last week, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot about it tonight as well. But the press conference where Arne was asked if he's going to tie his shoes like how Klopp did, if he's going to wipe his ass like how Klopp did, and various other Klopp-related questions. And the only question that was probably one that I would have asked came from like Chris Pajak, who got slammed for his formation question and stuff. But what do you make of the press conference overall?
He had a pretty funny video after that too, saying that.
I saw that.
That's great. That's nice. Yeah, I was annoyed by the press conference, to be honest. Like we all will forever appreciate everything Jurgen did for the club, but it's done. It's time to move on. Like, I don't want to hear his name at these press conferences ever again, unless it's, hey, you won the league quicker than Klopp did. Like, that's the only time I'm going to want to hear his name again, because this is now Arne Slot's era. Like, we need to, how many times did, maybe at the beginning of Klopp's era, you know, he had questions about Rodgers or Hudson or whatever, but yeah, it's so frustrating. And I would be frustrated if I were him as well going into these press conferences. I'm sure he gets some sort of briefing about the type of questions he might get, some sort of PR training, whatever, you know, what happens. But I would just be so annoyed by the fact that, you know, all you're asking me is stuff that, how do you want me to answer this? Besides the question you're giving me, I'm going to give you the same answer for that you expect already. I'm not going to say anything different. And there's nothing exciting or new about these answers. There's nothing that the fans, most of us don't want to hear it anymore. We want to move on. We don't want to hear anything about the comparisons and talk about how you feel about Klopp and all that. We just want you. That's just, I don't know. It was just a frustrating watch for me.
I almost felt like some of the questions were like easier for him to handle than the one that he got prepped for the club. I mean, this was people were like, let's see what he does against the questions that he's not prepared for. I thought these were freaking easier for him because you could see them coming a mile away. And my thing is, people who have been whining and crying and bitching and moaning for months, especially the media, that he never talks. This is the question you were going to ask all this goddamn time? I mean, it's just like ridiculous. And I think it's making it, people are like, oh, it's so difficult to follow Klopp and stuff like that. Yeah, you guys are not making it any easier by, bringing up his question and name every single time. And here's a little PSA. If you're in the States, heads up, because Kazi is back.
Kazi's back.
So watch your back, people, especially if you're in the Nevada area. But so Z says Klopp's name will be brought up every game on TV. And I think, look, they're going to compare styles. They're going to compare, how it's played and stuff. That's natural, right? You kind of say, progress and stuff like that. But when you have this guy who you were kind of like meaning to ask questions, how they're like, if you have dinner with one historic person and stuff like that, it's like you've been waiting to ask these questions. Are you going to ask him, are you going to get the city like Klopp did? I mean, really? That's their question? Or
no, I'm going to turn my back on him.
Phone call. Like, what do you want him to say? I mean, some of those questions, I don't even know the answer you're looking for. Like, what answer are you going to get and be like, oh, I did not see that coming? He's going to be like, nope, I don't care about the city. Or
the docs can go fuck themselves. Like, no, yeah, exactly. It's silly. And I wish we could move on. And, it is what it is. There's only a couple weeks before. I think maybe once we actually start to get into the preseason games specifically, we might be able to get some questions that are not pertaining to Klopp specifically. But yeah, until then, it's just, I don't know. I know, like you're saying, we waited so long for a press conference, and now I wish we waited even longer because I don't know what the point was.
Yeah, Kazi says if Liverpool don't sign the players because we spent about 40 million on Klopp's goodbye. I mean, it was like a 6-month freaking tour of him like leaving, which is well deserved and everything. But can we just freaking all together move on and help this dude as opposed to just freaking like bring up the past constantly and ask him like really. And I get it, because let's face it, any legit question that maybe we would have asked or we've talked about over here. I don't think we've been talking about this for months, right? If you want like actual genuine content, that's why you should stick up with American Scouser. I don't think we ever said, what do you guys think he felt like when he got the phone call? And, like nobody cares. And I think we can all imagine what he felt when he got the phone call. But I think, any question that maybe we would have asked as our contributors over here who've been talking about this for the last few months, he kind of like sidesteps anything from transpositioning to like the 3 players futures. I think what was the other player that like Gakpo's positioning and stuff. He sidestepped all those, which was natural, but instead of kind of like insisting on it and asking it in a different way, which the media does, right? If they want to get like a reaction out of like a referee call or something, even if the guy says, like referee, I don't want to talk about it, somebody will ask the question, like reword it until they get something. No, they moved on really fast. They're like, we don't want to talk about that? Okay, that's fine then. Let's talk about your feelings. And, we just moved on. How about Hughes? Anything that you got out of him that's made you happy, sad, what the hell, where are you at?
I was a bit confused by his accent. I didn't really know what mixture of all of that was. That was it. That's it. I just there really wasn't anything that I heard that was necessarily like, ooh, like this is what ears prick up kind of thing. I just was trying to pick up what blend of accents is all of this coming into. Why does he sound the way that he does? I was intrigued that way, but that's pretty much it. But it didn't.